Mr. Speaker, this country is facing real problems. The right to bodily autonomy is under attack across the nation. There was a school shooting just 4 days into the new year, leading to the tragic death of an 11-year-old and the injury of 7 others. Our immigration system cannot function because Congress has failed to reform it for over 30 years, and Republican hardliners are threatening to shut down the government if we don't, quote, shut down the border. House Republicans are not working to respond to any of these problems, as they are too busy fighting among themselves. Their historic dysfunction has even prompted multiple members of their conference to complain that they have nothing to campaign on. Today's resolution is not going to help. This resolution will do nothing to solve the situation at the border. It proposes no solutions of any kind. In fact, this resolution is nothing more than a highlight reel of the Republican talking points in immigration that we have heard over and over from Republicans since President Biden was sworn into office. So let me say once again, the border is not open. The Biden administration has been removing people at a record clip over the last few months, restricting asylum with a new regulation, and placing thousands of families in expedited removal. Since the end of Title 42 last May, the Biden administration has removed or returned nearly 500,000 individuals. That is more than the number of people removed in all of fiscal year 2019 under the Trump administration. But because President Biden isn't saying that he wants to shoot migrants trying to cross the border, like Governors Abbott and DeSantis have, Republicans don't think he's doing enough. And despite my colleagues' claims, fentanyl is largely not coming into this country between ports of entry. More than 90% of fentanyl interdicted is stopped at ports of entry, where cartels attempted to smuggle it through, primarily in vehicles driven by American citizens. So I'm not sure how anyone can say the border is open. On top of this, at every turn, Republicans have voted against giving the administration the resources it needs to do its job. Nearly every current House Republican voted against the bipartisan infrastructure deal and the fiscal year 2023 omnibus. Both of these bills provided significant additional funding to increase staffing and modernize ports of entry to combat the smuggling of people and drugs. We need to work together to address our broken immigration system. Right now, we have a system where many people come into this country, present themselves to Border Patrol people, or do not. They are apprehended. They claim asylum. Under our law, they're entitled to a hearing before an immigration judge. But because we don't have enough asylum officers and immigration judges, their case isn't heard for years. So they're told to come back in 4 years or whatever for their hearing. And the Republicans call this catch and release. Well, if the Biden administration's proposals for funding for more border guards, more CBP people, and more asylum judges and more immigration judges would be approved, then these claims could be adjudicated in a matter of weeks, not years. And those entitled to asylum would be granted it in weeks and would be permitted to work, and those not entitled to it would be swiftly deported. But because of the lack of resources caused by Republican insistence on voting against those resources, this doesn't happen, and we have the catch and release system and millions of people staying in this country when they shouldn't, entirely because of the Republicans, and then they say it's President Biden's open border policy. We need to work together to address our broken immigration system. Unfortunately, House Republicans insist they will only consider H.R. 2, their fantasy draconian enforcement-only bill, which stands no chance of passage in the Senate. Real solutions require compromise, but MAGA Republicans aren't interested in compromise. What they are interested in is passing bills like the one before us today. Or I should say resolutions. This is not a bill. This resolution is nothing but empty rhetoric designed to score cheap political points that bring us no closer to meaningful reform. I urge my colleagues to oppose this resolution, and I hope we can get to serious work. But meanwhile, we should oppose this resolution, and I reserve the balance of my time.